Okay, now the next word is quite interesting. As a gardener, and those who are gardeners would know, one of the worst things are weeds. You don't want weeds. They're very hard to get rid of. Once they take over an area, they're very hard to get rid of. So actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses a word for a growth that occurred that just took over the whole land. And the word is athl. And notice here, the actual letter tha is used. Remember we said tha means a great number, something that is dispersed and is in great number. It also contains the lam as well, the letter lam. I haven't spoken about this letter, but one of its usages in the Arabic language is possession. So if I said, for example, al-qalamu li Muhammad, the pen belongs to Muhammad. One of the usages is to be in one's possession or to own something. Now here lam could denote that this athl, we use the Arabic for now, that the athl was throughout the land. It was part of the land. It became part of it. First of all, let's go to the ayah in question, and I'll give you a bit of background behind it, inshallah. Okay, if we go to the handout, we see that it says, examine the following ayah. Now, just briefly talking about this ayah, it's talking about the people of Saba. And that's a place in Yemen. Now, one of the great blessings he gave these people was the ability to control the flow of water. So actually, there's a dam that existed back in their time. It still exists today, and its remnants are still there in Yemen. It's a place called Seddu Ma'rib. And it existed back in the time about 800 BC. It was actually one of the great constructions, if you go back in history. And this construction was actually a dam where they had a river flowing and they could stop the water and control the water, how much water came in to their lands. And then when there was enough water, they could stop it by manipulation of rocks. They put rocks in the way, massive rocks, and they could take these away to let the water flow and to put them up to stop the flow of water. So it was a great blessing that Allah gave them. And because they were able to control the water, they had the best gardens that you could imagine. Massive gardens. And two great gardens on both sides. And it speaks about them turning away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They thought they were self-sufficient. They did not need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is actually very similar to our situation today, where we've become too reliant on worldly means, where we've actually forgotten that Allah is in control of all these things. These types of things actually are part of Sunnat Allah, the part of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you become ungrateful and you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sends punishments like these. So what does He say? He talks about these people. He says, let's go through this. He says, فَأَعْرَضُوا فَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ سَيْلَ الْعَرْمِ. So they turned away. And we sent upon them, this is a punishment, we sent upon them the flood of the dam. So they were unable to control the water. Something happened to the dam where they were unable to control the flow of water, and it just went everywhere and to areas they did not want. So we replaced their two gardens with gardens that possessed ukud, you could say fruits or food, things that you could eat from it. That is khamt. Khamt. What's khamt? It's talking about something that's bitter, putrid, disgusting. When you put in your mouth, it's disgusting. And even poisonous. A lot of these things you can't put in your mouth, they're actually poisonous for us. So He actually replaced all their fruits and all the provisions that they lived off with this type of growth. وأثل. This is what I'm coming. وأثل. What's أثل? It's a type of weed or a shrub that just takes over the area. And most scholars actually say this refers to a type of shrub known as tamarisk. And this is known to grow in areas where there's been changes in environmental conditions, especially when it comes to water differences or variations. So they're very capable of growing in areas where there's been major disturbances, unlike most plants. Most plants cannot handle this. They'll die, they'll perish. However, this type of shrub just takes over the area. And if it's taken over an area, it's very hard to get rid of. And the last thing, وَشَيْءٍ مِنْ سِدْرٍ قَلِيلٍ. And something min sidrin qalil, from sparse lot trees. وَشَيْءٍ, something. And this indefiniteness talks about it being something that is very bad. Min sidrin qalil, with very little sidr. So this lot tree is not growing. It's not actually growing. And if it is, it's very, very little growth. So the environmental conditions have affected this growth of the lot tree. And what does a lot tree produce that's not growing? Its leaves fall off, its fruits fall off. What's left are the branches. And what do the branches contain? All the spikes. Now, at the end of this worksheet, there are 2 sentences. Now, I do want you to add your own sentences, inshallah. Also, if you could do a grammatical analysis of these 2 sentences as well, for those who have done at least intermediate grammar. I mean, if you've completed the first book or book and a half of the Medina books, you should be able to do this quite easily. And those who haven't done those books, inshallah, keep these handouts, inshallah, and come back to it when you have finished them, inshallah.